Imagine a universe filled with billions of stars and millions of planets. On many of those worlds, life might even be possible. But the question is simple and unsettling. If the universe is so vast, why have we never met another civilization? Are we alone? Or is there something that destroys every advanced civilization before it can reach others? Today, in Philosophia, we enter one of the most mysterious and mind-bending ideas in modern science, the Great Filter Hypothesis. This video may lull you into silence and at the same time force you to think deeply. In a slow, calm voice, we will explore what this filter is, what it teaches us, and whether it reveals something about the future of our own civilization. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, and join me on a cosmic journey. Take a slow breath and imagine an endless sky filled with countless stars. Each star, like our sun, may have planets orbiting it, some small, some massive, some frozen in ice, and some perhaps warm and Earth-like, capable of supporting life. When we look at the night sky, the emptiness we see is not truly empty. It is filled with mystery, with possibility, and with questions humanity has asked for centuries. The oldest and deepest of them all. Are we alone? Is life exclusive to Earth? Or somewhere far away, in another star system, is there another civilization asking the same question? When scientists first considered the possibility of life beyond Earth, it wasn't as strange as it once seemed. Because mathematically, the numbers are staggering. In our Milky Way galaxy alone, there are roughly 400 billion stars, and on average, each star may host about 5 planets. That means there could be around 2 trillion planets in just our galaxy. And this is only one galaxy. There are billions of galaxies in the universe. So then, with so many planets, why have we found no sign of life? No radio messages, no spacecraft, no intelligent signals, only a deep, mysterious silence. This is known as the Fermi Paradox, named after the physicist Enrico Fermi. In 1950, during a casual lunch with colleagues discussing flying saucers and extraterrestrial life, Fermi suddenly asked a simple question: where is everybody? A simple question that became one of the deepest puzzles in modern astronomy. Because statistically, life should be common. Yet when we look into the sky, we see only silence. This contradiction is the Fermi Paradox. Now think about it. If life emerged on Earth through countless unlikely events, could it not have happened elsewhere as well? Scientists tried to express this idea mathematically through the Drake equation. They included factors such as how many stars are formed, how many of them have planets, how many planets could support life, how many actually develop life, and how many of those become intelligent. When all probabilities were combined, the result seemed obvious. We should not be alone. Somewhere out there, life should exist. And yet, we have found nothing. This is where the search for silence begins. Some suggest we are too small, our technology too limited. Perhaps they have seen us, but we cannot see them. Others suggest they are too far away for any signal to reach us within a meaningful time. Some scientists even propose that civilizations may simply not last long enough. They are born, they grow, and then they disappear before they ever reach the stars. From this idea emerges something even more unsettling, the Great Filter Hypothesis. But before we understand it, we must ask, why is this silence so strange? Imagine a civilization somewhere far away sending radio waves or light signals just like we do. our telescopes should be able to detect them. For decades, we have been listening. Organizations like SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, continuously scan the skies. We have built massive radio telescopes like the Arecibo Observatory, trying to decode signals from deep space. But the result has mostly been silence, or strange, unclear signals with no confirmed origin. The most famous of them all was the WOW signal. In 1977, a radio telescope detected a powerful signal that lasted 72 seconds. It was so precise and intense that a scientist wrote "wow" beside it. But it was never detected again. No one knows where it came from, natural phenomenon or intelligent source. And then, silence again. Perhaps that is the most frightening part, because if millions of civilizations existed, the sky should be filled with noise, but instead, only darkness and quiet. Slowly, scientists began to realize something unsettling. Maybe this silence is not a coincidence. Maybe something stops civilizations from advancing, a point that is extremely difficult, perhaps impossible to cross. And those who cannot cross it vanish. That barrier may be the Great Filter, a wall standing in the path of every advanced civilization. It suggests that somewhere in the evolution of life, there is a stage where almost all civilizations fail. They either destroy themselves or are destroyed by natural forces before they ever reach the stars. Now, if this is true, there are only two possibilities. Either the filter is behind us, meaning humanity has already passed the hardest stage. We are rare. We are lucky. Life emerged, intelligence developed, and now we are beginning to understand the cosmos. Or, the more terrifying possibility, the filter is still ahead of us. We have not yet reached the wall, and when we do, we may face the same fate as every other civilization before us. This idea is both frightening and profound because it forces us to look not only at the universe, but at ourselves. What are we doing? Will we survive? Is our civilization also heading toward its own filter? But before we can understand that, we must first ask, what exactly is this filter? How does it work? And who first proposed it? In the next part of this journey, we will explore where the Great Filter truly begins and why it may define the fate of our entire existence. Slowly, close your eyes. Take a deep breath and think, if the universe is so vast, why is its silence so deep? Does this silence point toward a terrifying truth, or is it simply a reflection of our own limitations? In the next chapter, we descend deeper into that mysterious silence where the true story of the Great Filter begins. Slowly close your eyes. Take a long, deep breath. Now imagine a calm night sky in your mind. Countless stars, like glowing drops scattered across a dark canvas. Each star telling its own story. Each point of light traveling across unimaginable distances. Imagine looking into the night sky and seeing not just stars, but echoes of time itself, billions of years of history unfolding in silence. And yet, in that vastness, something feels deeply strange, a mysterious quiet. The universe, despite being so immense, so full of possibility, gives us no answer, no message, no signal, no sign that anyone is out there listening or speaking back, only an endless, heavy silence. And perhaps that silence is the greatest mystery of all, the silent universe. We assume that if life is common, the universe should be alive with signals, technological broadcasts, cosmic conversations, evidence of civilizations rising and expanding across the stars. But instead, we hear nothing. Why? When early humans first looked at the sky, they saw gods, spirits, and mysteries written across the stars. Later, science revealed a different truth. Those distant points of light are suns, just like our own. And if our sun can give rise to life, then why not the others? By the mid-20th century, scientists began to believe that planets must be common across the galaxy, worlds capable of hosting life. And when the first exoplanet was discovered in 1995, that belief only grew stronger. Today, we know that almost every star likely has its own planetary system. So the question became even more haunting. If the conditions for life are everywhere, where is everybody? In 1960, astronomer Frank Drake attempted something unprecedented. Through Project Ozma, he used radio telescopes to listen for signals from distant stars. He focused on Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti, hoping that if any civilization existed there, its radio waves might reach us. But all he found was silence. Decades followed. The SETI programs expanded, listening to the skies, scanning radio frequencies, searching laser pulses, and analyzing cosmic patterns. Occasionally, unusual signals appeared, but they always vanished, as if something briefly looked our way and then went quiet again. This silence was no longer just a scientific puzzle. It became a philosophical experience. Because in that silence, you begin to feel small, as if the universe is watching, but choosing not to speak. Why the universe might be silent? There are many possible explanations. Maybe civilizations are simply too far away, their signals still traveling across distances so vast that they haven't reached us yet. Or maybe their way of communicating is completely beyond our understanding. Like an ant standing beside a towering city, unable to comprehend the meaning of the lights and signals above it, perhaps we too are blind to the true language of the cosmos. Some scientists suggest another possibility. Civilizations may be self-limiting. They hide themselves deliberately. This idea is known as the dark forest hypothesis. In a dark forest, every creature stays hidden, because any sound could attract a predator. Perhaps civilizations behave the same way, staying silent to avoid being discovered by something far more powerful. Another possibility is simpler and more uncomfortable. Maybe the problem is us. Our technology is still primitive on a cosmic scale. We search for radio signals, but advanced civilizations may no longer use them. A civilization thousands of years ahead of us might communicate through physics we haven't even discovered yet. Quantum systems, exotic fields, or dimensions beyond our understanding. Maybe they tried to reach us and we simply weren't capable of hearing them. Or perhaps they are no longer there at all. Maybe they encountered a barrier, a cosmic threshold that prevents civilizations from advancing beyond a certain point. This idea is known as the Great Filter Hypothesis, a filter that stops life from reaching its full potential. A philosophy in silence. This silence does not only challenge science, it challenges emotion, meaning, and perspective. When we look at the universe, we also look inward. We begin to wonder if the cosmos is so vast, maybe its silence is intentional. Maybe it is teaching us patience. Maybe it is waiting for us to bring order to our own world before we search for others. Sometimes this silence does not feel frightening. It feels peaceful, like a vast, infinite stillness holding everything in balance. Every star, every planet, perfectly placed in a quiet cosmic order. And within that stillness, perhaps there is a hidden music, not sound as we know it, but existence itself. If we listen deeply enough, maybe we realize the universe is speaking constantly, in sunlight, in breath, in the wind, in the rhythm of life itself. But we fail to hear it because we are drowning in our own noise. Still, humanity did not remain silent. We answered the silence. In 1974, we sent the Arecibo message into space, a digital transmission containing a map of Earth, the structure of DNA, and a representation of human beings. It was directed toward the star cluster M13, located about 25,000 light-years away. If anyone receives it, they will receive it in 25,000 years, and if they reply, their answer will take another 25,000 years to return. A single conversation, spanning half a millennium just for one greeting. Later, the Voyager spacecraft carried something even more poetic, the Golden Record, a message in a bottle for the cosmos, images of Earth, greetings in 90 languages, and natural sounds, waves crashing, wind blowing, and a child laughing. A fragile hope that somewhere out there, someone might understand that we were here. The lesson hidden in silence. This silence carries a strange duality. It is both terrifying and deeply instructive. It reminds us of how small we are and how rare we might be. If there is truly no one else out there, then perhaps we're the only consciousness capable of witnessing the universe, and that makes our existence both precious and fragile. It also carries responsibility, because perhaps civilizations do not survive long enough to reach the stars. They collapse before they expand. And if that is true, then this silence is not just mystery, it is warning. A quiet message from the cosmos saying, "Be careful, many before you did not make it." Take a breath. Feel the silence. It is not empty, it is deep. Every light year between stars tells a story of distance, survival, and time. We are small but aware. We are fragile but capable of thought. And perhaps that is the greatest strength of all, the ability to listen. And now the next question. If this silence exists for a reason, what is that reason? What invisible force stops civilizations from spreading across the stars? Where is the hidden filter that determines who survives and who disappears? These questions lead us deeper into the mystery, into the origins of the idea that may explain it all, the beginning of the great filter. In a universe where life is supposedly common, we should be surrounded by civilizations everywhere. But if we see none, it suggests something is stopping most of them from ever reaching that stage. This idea is known as the Great Filter. It proposes that somewhere along the long journey of life's evolution, there is a critical and extremely difficult step, so difficult that most attempts never make it past. Life in this view is like a ladder. First comes the emergence of life itself, then the formation of complex cells, then multicellular organisms. After that, the rise of intelligence, then technological civilization, and finally interstellar expansion. At any one of these steps, something may act as a filter, a barrier that eliminates almost every attempt. So even if life begins on a planet, it may never advance further. Or if intelligent life does emerge, it may still end up destroying itself. This idea is both logical and terrifying, because it implies one of two possibilities. Either we have already passed through an almost impossible barrier, or we are moving toward a wall that destroys every civilization that reaches it. The evolutionary ladder of life helps explain this clearly. Each step represents a stage of progress, but if most civilizations fail at a particular step, that step becomes the filter itself. And depending on where this filter lies, the meaning for humanity changes completely. If the filter is behind us, meaning the emergence of life is extremely rare, then we are incredibly fortunate to exist at all. But if the filter is ahead of us, meaning civilizations tend to collapse just as they reach technological power, then our future may already be under threat. This leads directly back to Fermi's famous question, where is everybody? According to the Great Filter hypothesis, the answer becomes unsettlingly simple. They never made it. Some civilizations begin their journey but never reach the end. Some develop technology only for that same technology to destroy them. Others discover powerful energy sources only for those sources to become the cause of their extinction. The filter is not one single event. It can be natural or self-inflicted. It could be climate collapse, pandemics, global war, or uncontrolled artificial intelligence. Or it could be planetary changes beyond any control. In every case, civilizations rise and then fall within the consequences of their own progress. And here emerges a disturbing thought. If one day we discover fossilized life on another planet, it may actually be bad news. It would suggest that life itself is common, but intelligent civilizations rarely survive long enough to spread, meaning the filter is ahead of us. But if we find absolutely no trace of life anywhere, that could be good news. It would suggest that life itself is extremely rare, and we may have already passed the hardest step. Either way, the conclusion is striking. We are either exceptionally lucky or walking through one of the most dangerous phases in cosmic history. The Great Filter can be divided into two categories: natural filters and self-inflicted filters. Natural filters include unstable planetary conditions, constant asteroid impacts, harmful radiation from stars, or biological instability, conditions where life simply cannot sustain itself long enough to evolve. But the more terrifying possibility is the self-inflicted filter. This is when a civilization destroys itself through its own intelligence, nuclear war, climate change, resource exhaustion, or losing control of artificial intelligence. As civilizations grow more powerful, they also become more capable of ending themselves. This leads to a philosophical reflection. If we are here today, then this moment might be one of the rarest in the history of the universe, a moment where life has become aware of itself. We are, in a sense, the universe observing itself through conscious beings. But this awareness comes with responsibility, because the greatest threats may not lie in space, but within us. Our greed, our imbalance, our violence. These may be the true barriers that decide whether we move forward or collapse. To pass the Great Filter, we may first need to overcome ourselves. This theory is not just a warning, it is also an opportunity. It reminds us that we exist at a point where decisions matter. Technology, environment, peace or conflict, each choice shapes whether we cross into the next stage or disappear like those who came before us. If we choose balance, cooperation, and wisdom, we may be the first civilization to pass the Great Filter. But if we fall into the same patterns of destruction, we may simply become another silent chapter in a universe that never answers back. And in that silence, there is a reflection, not just of the cosmos, but of ourselves. The filter is not only out there, it is also within us. And in the next chapter, we move deeper into this mystery, into the fragile beginning of life itself, where everything started, and where the first seeds of the Great Filter may have been planted. Birth is difficult, but survival is just as hard. And here, the Great Filter whispers a deeper truth. Perhaps life does not emerge on every world because conditions are never truly stable. Meteor impacts occur, climates collapse, stellar radiation can scorch everything into ash. In other words, life is a fragile flame that can be extinguished by the slightest disturbance. Even our own Earth feels like a miracle. If the sun were slightly hotter, our oceans would have boiled away. Slightly colder, and the entire planet would be locked in ice. Without the moon, Earth's seasons would never remain stable. Without the ozone layer, solar radiation would have wiped us out long ago. And without a massive protector like Jupiter, comets and asteroids would constantly bombard our world. Everything seems delicately balanced, as if life was only ever meant to survive by chance. And this thought gives rise to something unsettling. Was this balance achieved only once? Are we the only planet in the universe where everything aligned perfectly? If so, then we are not just alone, we are extraordinarily fortunate. But science suggests something different. Wherever conditions become suitable, life should be able to emerge. So perhaps life exists everywhere, just not in a form we recognize. It may be microscopic, silent, hidden, or so radically different that we fail to identify it. Maybe beneath frozen moons, microbial life is lying dormant, waiting for a new form of energy to awaken it. Or perhaps on many worlds, life began, but ended in its earliest stages. This is why scientists describe abiogenesis, the spontaneous emergence of life, as the first and one of the hardest filters in the journey toward any advanced civilization. If passing this filter is so difficult, then intelligent life itself may be incredibly rare. And if life does begin, another question arises. Can it evolve? Can it grow from a single cell into a thinking being, or will it remain forever trapped in microscopic simplicity deep within alien oceans? This is where evolution begins its long, silent work. Many scientists believe that life may have started in countless corners of the universe, but never progressed further. Some worlds may have been repeatedly struck by asteroids. Others may have lost their atmospheres. Some may have burned themselves into extinction before life ever had a chance to grow. So both the birth of life and its survival are miracles in themselves, and if either fails, a civilization never reaches intelligence. Here, the great filter becomes clearer. It is not a single barrier, but a chain of impossible stages where failure is far more likely than success. And the first stage, life itself, is the hardest exam of all. If only a few worlds pass this test out of millions, then most of the universe will remain silent, dark, and empty. Stars will continue to shine, but no life will ever dance around them. No laughter, no thoughts, no dreams. So, if we are alive today, if we can think, speak, and imagine, then we are witnessing one of the greatest miracles in cosmic history, a rare flame burning in the darkness, a fragile spark that survived the first gate of the great filter. But this is only the beginning, because starting life is one thing, becoming intelligent life is another. Does every world that produces life also produce intelligence, or is there another filter waiting ahead, one that stops almost everything again? Our journey now moves toward that next mysterious stage, where we explore how life transforms from simple cells into thinking beings, and why that transformation may be just as difficult as the origin of life itself. Take a deep breath and step into the next chapter, where the slow but extraordinary story of evolution awaits. In the silence of the night, as the wind drifts gently and stars glow in quiet stillness, a question begins to rise. How did a tiny, invisible organism one day become something that thinks, feels, and understands the universe? How did simple chemical reactions in ancient oceans give birth to consciousness itself? This journey, spanning billions of years, is the second and perhaps the most mysterious stage of the Great Filter. In the previous chapter, we saw how difficult the beginning of life truly was. Now imagine that first step succeeded. Microbial life appears in the oceans of a young planet. But now comes the real challenge: survival. Early life was extremely fragile, easily affected by temperature shifts, radiation, and environmental change. It was like a bubble floating on a still pond, ready to disappear with a single disturbance. Nature then presented a challenge: evolution. A simple rule: adapt or disappear. Over billions of years, these early organisms slowly learned to adapt. Some discovered new ways to extract energy. Others developed protective cellular walls. Some evolved to consume other organisms for survival. And then came a breakthrough: multicellular life. Cells began working together, forming more complex organisms. Algae, insects, fish, plants. Life slowly expanded into diversity. But even after billions of years, life remained confined to oceans and simple ecosystems. No civilizations, no language, no thought. Why? Because intelligence is just as difficult to achieve as life itself. Nature is in no hurry. It experiments over millions of years, shaping life through endless cycles of success and extinction. Then came the age of dinosaurs: massive, powerful, dominant, but not intelligent. Intelligence, however, was quietly forming in much smaller creatures, mammals. When the dinosaurs disappeared, likely due to a catastrophic impact, a new path opened for these small, hidden survivors. They would eventually shape the future of Earth. One branch of this long journey would lead to humans. But this was not an easy path. Our ancestors were not intelligent at first. They were simply surviving like other animals. Slowly, nature began to reshape their brains. They learned to control fire. They created tools from stone. They hunted in groups. And eventually, they developed language. Language changed everything. It allowed thoughts to be shared, ideas to grow, plans to form, and societies to emerge. This is where intelligence truly began to take flight. But a question remains: if nature is so creative, why does this not happen everywhere? Why doesn't intelligent life arise on every planet? Perhaps this is the next stage of the Great Filter, the nearly impossible journey toward intelligence. Because not every world remains stable long enough for intelligence to emerge. Many may host life that is repeatedly reset by disasters, asteroids, atmospheric collapse, extreme climate shifts. If intelligence requires billions of years, then even a single interruption can erase its progress completely. Most civilizations may never even reach the point of thinking. We humans passed through this narrow passage, surviving countless challenges, slowly building fire, tools, language, agriculture, and society. But this journey was not just biological. It was also the evolution of consciousness itself. To think, to question, to imagine, this is the universe reflecting on itself. And perhaps the Great Filter is also this: only civilizations that move beyond survival and begin searching for meaning are the ones that continue forward. But this stage carries a danger. Because intelligence is not only creative, it is also destructive. So the question arises: Is it possible that civilizations elsewhere reached intelligence only to destroy themselves? Did they make the same mistake we might be making? Fighting nature, consuming resources without balance, or building weapons that eventually turned against them? If collapse were to happen, it would likely not be sudden. It would be the result of a slow turning inward of a civilization against itself. In that sense, the Great Filter may represent one of the most dangerous stages of all, where only a very small number of civilizations manage to survive. Many scientists believe that the rise of intelligence and technology is a double-edged sword. On one side, it opens the path toward the stars. On the other, it carries the potential for self-destruction. Perhaps this is why the universe remains silent, because those who reached advanced technology may have ultimately destroyed themselves. And yet, here we are. We think, we speak, we ask questions. We look up at the stars and wonder if someone else is out there. That alone suggests something important. We have not given up. We may have already crossed several stages of the Great Filter, but the journey is far from over. Because as civilizations grow, so do the challenges they face. The real question is no longer whether life can begin or whether intelligence can emerge. The question now is whether it can survive long enough to endure its own creation. In the next chapter, we explore how intelligent life becomes a civilization and the forces that threaten to erase it. We begin to see that the Great Filter is not only biological, but also social, technological, and moral. And perhaps within that complexity lies the answer to why we have never met anyone else. So take a moment, quiet your thoughts, and step forward into the next chapter where the story of civilization truly begins. Night has fully fallen. The sky is scattered with countless stars, some faint, some blazing, and some so distant that their light has taken billions of years to reach us. Among all those stars, there may be other worlds, places where intelligent beings once looked up at their skies and asked the same question we ask today: are we alone? But perhaps they asked it too late, or perhaps they never got the chance to ask at all. This is the civilizational barrier, the wall that may be the hardest challenge any civilization must face. We have already seen how rare the birth of life is and how long the path to intelligence can be. But now the real test begins, when a species begins to think, communicate, and build, because that is where civilization is born, and possibly where it begins to end. The first step of civilization. Looking back at human history, we see how fragile our beginnings were. We were once hunters, living in small groups, driven by fear, dependent on nature, and constantly at its mercy. Then came fire, then language, then tools. For the first time, we learned to shape the world around us. Agriculture allowed us to settle. Villages formed, then cities, then empires. Knowledge accumulated, science emerged, art was created, and slowly society transformed until ideas themselves became the most powerful force. But as civilization rose higher, it also created invisible risks beneath it, because the greater the power, the greater the responsibility, and a single mistake can push everything back to where it began. Every civilization stands on a fragile balance between knowledge and ignorance, power and humility, creation and destruction. When technological growth accelerates faster than moral development, a trap emerges, a dangerous one. Energy becomes electricity, but also nuclear weapons. The internet connects humanity, but also enables cyber warfare and chaos. Industry advances life, but also disrupts climate and nature. Many scientists believe this is a major part of the Great Filter. Life may emerge, intelligence may evolve, but civilizations struggle to survive themselves. They collapse under the weight of their own creations. Imagine how many civilizations might have existed before us. How many worlds may have developed life, reached intelligence, built societies, only to fall into the same patterns we see today: resource exploitation, environmental destruction, conflict, and endless competition for power. Once a civilization becomes advanced enough to reshape its world, it also gains the power to erase itself. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, artificial intelligence. These are not just tools of progress, they are also potential endpoints. Perhaps somewhere in the universe, another civilization already crossed that line and is now nothing but ash on a silent planet. Maybe that is why the sky feels empty. Because those who learned to speak to the universe may have also destroyed themselves before they could be heard. Intelligence versus wisdom. There is a thin line between intelligence and wisdom. Intelligence shows how to do something. Wisdom decides whether it should be done. A civilization that develops one without the other is already on the path to collapse. We have become intelligent. We have built nuclear power, artificial intelligence, and spacecraft. But have we become wise? Perhaps this is the true civilizational barrier, not lack of knowledge, but lack of judgment. Intelligence can be achieved by many, wisdom far fewer, and those who fail to develop it fade into history's darkness. Some astrophysicists suggest that the universe itself may enforce balance. When a civilization grows too powerful, natural limits may appear: pandemics, climate shifts, internal collapse. It sounds unsettling, but perhaps it is a cosmic safety mechanism, a way of ensuring that no civilization expands without limit and destroys everything else in the process. And then the question turns inward. Are we following the same path? We take pride in our technology, but have we learned responsibility? We created the internet, but now it shapes us. We built weapons, but now we fear them. We gave machines the ability to think, but have we stopped thinking ourselves? Perhaps we too stand before that barrier, the one many civilizations never crossed. And this barrier is not only technological, it is the barrier of self-control. If we fail here, the Great Filter may end for us at this very point. But every story has another side. Perhaps some civilizations have already passed this stage. Perhaps they learned how to avoid self-destruction. Perhaps they became advanced enough to hide their presence. Maybe they are watching us from afar, waiting to see if we will follow the same path. And only if we prove that we can overcome this barrier might they choose to reveal themselves. If a civilization survives the filter, its next step is expansion beyond its homeworld, a species that no longer depends on a single planet, one that harnesses the energy of its star, travels through space, and becomes a permanent part of the cosmos. But to reach that stage, everything must change. Greed must be replaced with responsibility. Fear must be replaced with understanding. Power must be guided by wisdom. Only then can a civilization pass the greatest test of the Great Filter. Night deepens, and with it, our thoughts grow heavier. We have seen how fragile life is and how rare intelligence truly is. But now, we step into the next stage of the journey, standing before the terrifying gateway that every civilization must eventually face, the point where its future is decided. Some move forward, others disappear without a trace. This is the moment where the darkest form of the Great Filter reveals itself. When a civilization reaches a certain level of advancement, it gains immense power, and not very power can become its greatest enemy. Imagine this: the moment a species unlocks nuclear energy, advanced technology, or artificial intelligence, it simultaneously creates the tools of its own destruction. The greater the power, the deeper the danger. On Earth, this pattern has repeated itself again and again. Humanity discovered fire, and with it came both protection and destruction. Then came the Industrial Revolution, bringing prosperity but also planting the seeds of climate change. Now we stand in the age of artificial intelligence and genetic engineering, an era where we not only understand our existence but also hold the capacity to erase it. Many scientists believe the Great Filter lies ahead of us, meaning the decisive stage has not yet come, the stage that will determine whether we remain a lasting trace in cosmic history or vanish like dust in the wind. If we look toward the future, the threats are countless: climate collapse, nuclear war, overpopulation, resource scarcity, and the loss of control over artificial intelligence. Any one of these could become a filter. One mistake, and our civilization could join a silent cosmic graveyard, perhaps already filled with countless extinct worlds. But within every danger, there is also hope. This is the balance between self-destruction and salvation. One path leads to annihilation, the other to survival. The real question is not whether the filter exists, but whether we are capable of passing through it. Imagine a civilization advanced enough to maintain the balance of its planet's environment, to control its weapons, and to direct its energy toward creation instead of destruction. Such a civilization could move forward. It could reach the stars. But the path is difficult and time is short. Throughout human history, every leap forward has also increased our capacity for destruction. Fire gave warmth, but burned cities. Nuclear power gave energy, but left behind the ashes of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And now artificial intelligence may elevate us to unimaginable heights, or become the final filter if it slips beyond our control. Many philosophers believe the true test of a civilization begins when it gains the power to destroy itself. At that point, survival depends not only on technology, but on morality and collective intelligence. Can we overcome greed, ego, and fear, or will we become trapped in the very systems we created? This question has likely faced every great civilization that ever existed. And if we look deeper, the Great Filter is not just a scientific concept, it is a mirror reflecting our own nature. It tells us that the real danger is not outside, it is within. The root of extinction lies not in external forces, but in internal decisions. If a civilization becomes technologically advanced but remains morally underdeveloped, can it survive for long? Probably not. No society can endure if it destroys its environment, its resources, or its social foundations. Some astrophysicists suggest this may be exactly why we see silence in the universe. Perhaps countless civilizations have risen over millions of years, only to disappear at their self-destruction stage. They may have been like us, dreamers reaching for the stars, but unable to handle the power they achieved. And yet, we are different in one crucial way. We are aware of the possibility of the great filter, and perhaps this awareness itself is what can help us cross it. Knowledge may be the light that pulls us out of darkness. If we use technology for preservation instead of destruction, we may become one of the few civilizations that survive the filter. This is not just scientific curiosity, it is self-reflection. It forces us to ask, where is our progress truly heading? Are we evolving or simply inventing more sophisticated ways to destroy ourselves? Are we truly intelligent or just clever apes playing with nuclear fire? In the silence of the night, as you listen to this thought, ask yourself, can we change our destiny? Can we break the silence of the universe and send our voice to the stars? Or will our voice be lost in the same silence where countless civilizations may already be buried? If the great filter lies ahead of us in the form of self-destruction, then it also means we still have a choice. We can change direction. We can become the first civilization to overcome greed and ego. Perhaps that is our salvation. A path where we learn to exist in harmony not only with our planet, but with the universe itself. And if that ever becomes possible, then one day, when another civilization looks up at their sky, they may find our signal, proof that the great filter can be passed. Slowly, this chapter fades into a quiet reflection. We all stand on that thin line where both destruction and salvation exist. Which direction we take is entirely in our hands. Now we move toward the next chapter, where we explore whether this filter exists only within us, or whether there are forces in the universe itself that destroy civilizations before they can ever tell their story. Our cosmic journey deepens. So far, we've seen the fragility of life, the difficulty of evolution, and the possibility of self-destruction. But if civilizations do not only die because of their own mistakes, then perhaps the universe itself is a vast testing ground where nature acts as the filter. Perhaps there are forces that prevent life from spreading too far, cosmic boundaries beyond which no civilization can pass. When we speak of the great filter, it does not necessarily have to come from within, wars, technology, or environmental collapse. It may also come from beyond, from forces that defy imagination, that not only challenge life, but erase it without leaving a trace. Even if life does emerge on a planet, how long can it survive? Because the universe is never still. Giant stars explode, black holes consume everything around them, and gamma-ray bursts can wipe out entire solar systems in an instant. Their intensity is so extreme that even a gamma-ray burst thousands of light years away could strip away Earth's ozone layer, making life impossible. Some astrophysicists believe these are external filters, cosmic filters, events from which escape is nearly impossible. A civilization might develop advanced technology, send satellites into space, and yet a nearby stellar explosion could erase its world forever, without us ever knowing it existed. Planetary stability itself is another question. For life to exist, countless conditions must align perfectly. Not too hot, not too cold, not too much radiation, not too little energy. But such balance is extremely rare in the universe. A small shift in a planet's orbit could change temperatures so drastically that life becomes impossible. This natural instability itself is a filter. Now imagine a civilization advanced enough to attempt interstellar travel. The moment it tries to move between stars, it faces new challenges. radiation, energy scarcity, freezing emptiness, and above all, distance.
Light years are not just numbers, they are barriers to existence. We have not yet sent a human beyond our solar system, and any civilization attempting to go further will face the same limits. This too is a form of filter, the wall of cosmic distance. Another mysterious idea suggests the existence of natural enemies in the universe, entities or conditions that prevent intelligent life from surviving long enough to expand. Some scientists even speculate about super-intelligent machines created by ancient civilizations, now spread across the cosmos, destroying emerging civilizations as soon as they appear.
A terrifying thought, but not impossible. If we understand the danger of artificial intelligence on Earth, then imagine a moment where you try to comprehend destruction on a cosmic scale. Then comes the idea of cosmic timing. Perhaps in the vast history of the universe, civilizations do not rise together. They emerge at different eras. When one civilization is still in its infancy, another may have already vanished entirely. They never meet, they never even know the other existed. This itself becomes a subtle form of the filter, a filter of time. If we look at Earth's history, we see how many times life has been reset on a massive scale, from asteroid impacts to volcanic supereruptions to climate shifts that reshaped everything. These are not local accidents, they are part of larger cosmic rules. Each time, life has returned, but there is no guarantee it always will. Perhaps on other worlds, the reset never allowed recovery at all. Some scientists even suggest that the universe itself may be structured in a way where permanent civilizations cannot last. Laws like energy conservation and entropy quietly push everything toward disorder. Over time, everything decays, everything dissolves. This becomes a kind of physical filter. As if the universe maintains balance by removing anything that grows too powerful or too stable. When we combine all of this, the Great Filter may not be a barrier just for humanity or civilizations, but a universal test for life itself. Like a teacher who gives difficult questions to see who's truly ready, the universe may only allow those to continue who can survive every challenge thrown at them. But beyond these external filters, there is another layer: chance, pure randomness, fate. Sometimes survival is decided by nothing more than timing and luck, like the extinction of the dinosaurs. If that asteroid had struck just a few kilometers away, Earth might look completely different today. The existence of life depends on when and where events happen. This is the cruel game of the cosmos. So the question arises, if these external filters are so powerful, is it even possible for a civilization to survive them? Perhaps yes, but only if it becomes more than just technologically advanced. It must become strategically distributed, spread across worlds.
A civilization dependent on a single planet is almost guaranteed to eventually fall, but one that expands across multiple planets and star systems gains resilience. This is called interstellar resilience, the ability to survive beyond a single world. Humanity is already moving in that direction. We dream of settling Mars, of building permanent outposts in space, but this is only the beginning. We must also survive invisible filters scattered across the universe: radiation, natural disasters, cosmic instability, and the slow decay of time itself. Slowly, a realization emerges. The Great Filter is not only within us, it is everywhere in the universe.
Every civilization must face both. Some fail due to internal flaws, others are destroyed by cosmic forces, and perhaps this is why when we look into the night sky, we see nothing, because everything that could have been there is already gone. But in this silence, there is a lesson. If we accept that life faces countless obstacles, and yet we are here, it means we have already passed through several filters. And if we have made it this far, we may be able to go further. In the quiet of night, as you reflect on this, imagine the universe as a living system, one that tests every emerging form of life. We are participants in that test, and every decision, every step, determines whether we move forward or not. Now a deeper question emerges. Are the filters behind us or ahead of us? Have we already passed the hardest stage, or is the real challenge still waiting? This leads into the next chapter. The silence of the night deepens. Starlight spreads faintly across the sky, as if whispering that the answer is hidden somewhere within it. Our journey so far has taken us from the fragile beginnings of life to self-destruction and cosmic barriers. We now understand that the Great Filter is not a single event, but a mysterious wall with darkness on both sides. And now we face a question that has puzzled scientists, philosophers, and dreamers for centuries. Have we already passed the Great Filter, or is it still ahead of us? This is not just a scientific question, it is an existential one. It defines the direction of our civilization. Are we safe, or standing at the edge of extinction? If the Great Filter is behind us, then we are incredibly fortunate. We have already survived an almost impossible test that most civilizations never pass. But if it is ahead of us, then we are moving toward a point of no return, a great collapse waiting in the future. Consider this quietly. If the early stages of life itself are extremely difficult, the origin of life on a planet, or the leap from single-celled organisms to complex beings, then the filter is likely behind us. It would mean we have already passed the hardest gate that most worlds never cross. That would make us extremely rare, almost miraculous, and it would also suggest that the future may be relatively open. But if life is actually easy to begin, if the universe naturally produces life everywhere, then the silence becomes terrifying. Because if life is common and yet we see no one else, then the filter must be ahead, meaning civilizations rise and then disappear at a certain stage, perhaps right where we stand today. This is why scientists connect the Great Filter with the Fermi Paradox. If the universe is so vast and full of potential for life, then where is everyone? Why is there only silence? This silence may not be coincidence. It may be a warning. If advanced civilizations eventually destroy themselves through war, artificial intelligence, resource collapse, or cosmic disaster, then humanity is walking a dangerous bridge between two unknown abysses. But there is another side to this thought, one filled with hope. If the filter is behind us, then we have already crossed the hardest barrier. Our future could stretch into the stars. We could become a multi-planet civilization, spreading life across the universe. Thinkers like Nick Bostrom have argued deeply about this question. His view suggests something unsettling. We should hope the filter is behind us, because if it is ahead, the future becomes dark. No news is good news,
If we see no other civilizations, it might actually mean intelligent life is extremely rare, and we are the exception. But if we ever discover simple microbial life elsewhere, the meaning could change completely. It might imply that life is common and the filter lies ahead. That possibility is both exciting and terrifying. Because the answer does not only belong to science, it belongs to our ethics, our choices, and our collective intelligence. If the filter is ahead, then humanity stands at a fork in the road. One path leads toward the stars, the other leads toward oblivion. And if the filter is already behind us, then we are something rare in cosmic history, a species that survived the impossible. Every breath we take becomes part of that rare continuation of existence. Thought itself is evidence that we have already passed through one of the most difficult trials of existence. But if more trials still lie ahead, then we must remain aware. Every decision we make, every step in technology, becomes preparation for that final examination. Now, look at this idea from a philosophical perspective. The great filter is not only an external reality, it is also an internal metaphor. It represents the test within us, where we must choose between paths: greed, ego, and ignorance, or knowledge, cooperation, and balance. Perhaps this is the true filter that decides whether a civilization is worthy of the cosmos or not. If we learn to control our self-destructive tendencies, if we learn to use our technology with wisdom, then perhaps we could become the first civilization to break the silence of the universe. We could become the voice that echoes between the stars. Crossing this filter is possible, but the path is not easy. Human history shows that we often awaken only in moments of danger. We do not change until everything is at risk. Perhaps that is our real test, whether we will awaken in time. And if we truly are beyond the filter, then it may mean civilizations like ours are extremely rare. We may be among the few who have survived every difficult turn of evolution. This realization brings not only pride, but responsibility. If we are indeed the surviving civilizations, then our duty is to spread knowledge, to preserve existence itself, so that the miracle of life is never extinguished. But if the filter still lies ahead, then we must accept that the coming centuries are decisive. They will determine whether we become a star-faring civilization or disappear into the darkness we created ourselves. In this quiet moment of night, as you listen, look inward. Every individual, every society, every decision is part of this great filter. Together, we are shaping where this story goes. Will our voice be lost in the silence of the cosmos, or become the first signal ever received by another civilization, declaring, "We were here and we made it through"? Gradually, this chapter ends like a long breath, not in complete hope, not in complete fear, but in silent acceptance that the future is still in our hands. And now, the next chapter leads us to the final stage of this journey, where we will not only understand the great filter, but also what it teaches humanity about the meaning of existence itself. Night deepens slowly. Silence spreads everywhere. And within this silence, we arrive at the final stage of this journey. So far, we have understood how fragile life is, how civilizations can destroy themselves, and how the great filter may prevent nearly every attempt to reach eternity. But now, in this final chapter, we must understand where we stand in this story
and where it may lead us. Imagine if the Great Filter truly exists. It may mean that over millions of years, countless civilizations have risen and fallen. They once orbited their stars, looked up at their skies just like we do, and wondered whether anyone else was out there. Perhaps every civilization began the same way, with curiosity, with a hunger for knowledge, and with the desire to understand its existence. But something silenced them forever. And now, in that infinite silence, only one voice may remain: ours. Is it not terrifying to think that we might be the last witnesses of the universe? That in all this darkness, we are the only ones still standing? Yet, this thought humbles us. It reminds us that our existence is nothing short of a miracle. We are not just a species living on a planet. We are the point where the universe begins to understand itself. The question is, can we pass this filter? Can we reach a stage where civilization does not destroy itself, but stabilizes into peace and balance? When we look at the night sky, we do not just see stars, we see possibilities. Billions of worlds, billions of chances, billions of conscious beings that may have existed or may yet come into existence. And if we act wisely, perhaps we can become one of the longest-lasting civilizations in cosmic history. The true lesson of the Great Filter is not fear, it is introspection. The filter is not only out there in space, it is within us. It exists in our selfishness, our greed, our violence, and our ignorance. Every war we fight, every part of nature we destroy, every reckless step towards self-destruction brings us closer to it. But every act of peace, every pursuit of knowledge, every choice of cooperation moves us away from it. Humanity seems to stand at a crossroads between destruction and intelligence. One path leads to extinction through our own power. The other leads to wisdom, where we learn from our mistakes and protect all forms of life. This choice will decide our future. Some scientists suggest that the absence of contact with other civilizations might actually be a good sign. It may mean we have already passed one of the hardest filters, the transition from life to intelligence. If that is true, our future could be bright. But if the filter still lies ahead, then the real trial is yet to come, one we may not even be able to imagine. And yet, on a cosmic scale, this struggle is the most beautiful truth of existence, that even in destruction, creation remains possible. Even in darkness, light continues to exist. And perhaps that is our role, to keep that light alive. When we look at Earth, a small blue and white sphere floating in infinite space, we must realize it is not just our home, it is our responsibility. We are not just a species, we are a legacy, the result of billions of years of survival, of struggle, of life refusing to end. And now, we are its guardians. If one day in the distant future, humanity reaches the stars, if we become an interstellar civilization, we may look back and realize we did what once seemed impossible. And in that moment, the Great Filter will no longer be just a theory. It will be our story, a story of fear, struggle, and ultimately victory. But until then, we must look within. We must use our technology with wisdom. Every discovery, every invention is not just a tool, it is a seed of the future, and what grows from it depends entirely on us, destruction or creation. Peace is not only external, it begins within. A calm mind creates wise decisions, and the same is true for civilizations.
only a balanced civilization can endure. So next time you look at the night sky, pause for a moment, see the countless stars, and remember, behind each one lies a story, a possibility, a mystery. And ask yourself, are we alone? Perhaps the answer is still unknown, but one truth remains certain. If we preserve goodness within ourselves, if we learn to live in peace with one another, then we will not only survive the universe, we will understand it. The universe is vast, but consciousness is deeper still, and we are part of that consciousness, carrying its story forward. This journey is not over, it has only just begun. Now gently focus on your breath. Close your eyes and feel that you are part of this infinite cosmos, and that the cosmos also exists within you. Every star, every light, every thought, all arise from the same source. You are a fragment of the energy that ignited stars, that gave birth to life, and that has now told its deepest story, the story of the Great Filter Hypothesis. And as you slowly drift into stillness, let this thought remain, that somewhere beneath a distant star, another mind may be asking the same question. Are we alone? And perhaps one day, when the universe awakens again, those two voices will finally meet, and in that infinite silence, for the first time, there will be an answer.